Hi, it's Shane King from Harcourts, and today we're talking about the pros and cons of using a broker over going directly to the bank. And with me, we have our favourite broker, Tracey Pye from Mortgage Express. So obviously my day-to-day dealings with the public and with buyers, we get asked quite a lot about brokers and whether people are going direct to a bank. So Tracey, in your eyes, what are the benefits of, or why would someone use a broker as opposed to walking into the bank and dealing with them directly?
Shane, that's my favourite question. I love it when people say, why would you use a broker? My answer to that is, why wouldn't you use a broker? As a broker, we've got like multiple lenders on our panel, anywhere up between 25 and 30. So that gives us multiple options. So if you've got a unique situation, for example, so let's say you might be on maternity leave and not returning for 6 months, you might walk into your bank and they might say, no, sorry, we can't help you until you're closer to your return date, until you actually have returned to work. Whereas we've got lenders out there that will lend based on a return to work letter. So it comes back to, as a broker, we know the bank's policies, so your situation may not fit with your current lender. So it's a good idea to speak to your broker.
So if you walk into a bank, they may have 3 or 4 different loan options and you don't necessarily know their policies or lending criteria, whereas we go and talk to you, you've got 25, 30 different lenders that may have 3 or 4 options, so potentially 120 loan options. And again, you would know which options would suit a certain scenario.
Exactly.
So benefits there of actually being put through to a bank that's likely to lend to you, as opposed to someone that you were up against it from the start with their policies and criteria not meeting your scenario. So with the different lenders then, and their policies that you've just outlined, how does that impact person to person or a couple's ability to borrow, and how much of an impact can that have?
Yeah, so again, it will come back to the bank's, I suppose what they call their living expenses. So living expenses are based on whether you're a single with dependents, couple with dependents, how much you earn, what postcode you live in, so that can affect your living expenses as well. So you can have as much as $80,000 difference in your borrowing capacity. Let's say you're a couple, so both on $65,000, no children, a credit card for $5,000, and you might be able to borrow $640 with one bank and you $720 with another bank.
So that's a huge difference on how much you can borrow from one bank to the next. So obviously different banks will also have different interest rates, I'm assuming, or different incentives to win your business?
Yeah, so there's some great incentives out there at the moment, especially if you're refinancing, and with interest rates so high and repayments, might be getting a little bit tough. It's a good time to look at what incentives are out there. And we've got a couple of lenders at the moment giving up to $5,000 in cash back. So one bank is you only need to have a loan of $250 and be borrowing less than 80% of your property value, and you'll get $5,000, and that's until the end of December. And then there's a multiple of other lenders that have got between $2,000 and $4,000 in cash backs to refinance. And obviously you want to refinance not just to get the cash back, you want a good rate as well, but there's great rates out there. So have a look at your interest rates. We've got rates starting as low as 4.21, which is really good in this current environment.
So a rate of 4.21 as a comparison, what might be a rate you'd expect just walking off the street?
Yeah, so this is like a bank that not a lot of people would have heard of because it's not one of your major banks. So 4.21 versus, let's say, the same product with Commonwealth Bank would be 4.64.
So nearly 0.5% difference and $4,000 or $5,000 cash back. Pretty handy incentive. So I know from me, my personal experience, when I've applied for a loan, it hasn't been a straightforward application. And one of the benefits I found is having a broker that can present the information in the best way possible. Does that change again from bank to bank, and how does that vary with what I would be presenting and how you may present it?
Yeah, so there's a lot more, I suppose, as everyone is more IT savvy now, going online and doing an application themselves. Now, if you don't present that in the correct format, and you quite possibly won't do that if you're reliant on sales commission, for example, or overtime, those sorts of things, you potentially could get declined, and then that's a hit on your credit record. So when you go to borrow again, your credit score is decreased. And you really have to look at your credit scores as well, because every time you apply for finance, if you go for an afterpay, zip pay, any short-term money lenders, your credit score gets affected. And I had one this week, which is probably the lowest I've ever seen, at only 248. So that then puts you into a different category. Her bank couldn't help her out, obviously, because the majors wouldn't look at that sort of score. But I was able to assist her with something else.
Okay, so knowing those things as well before you actually start an application, again, puts your application in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So a variety of lenders and options, understanding which banks will be more favourable to your situation, potentially better interest rates and options of cashbacks, and obviously someone in your corner that knows how to deal with this day in, day out, instead of perhaps yourself just putting your information forward without really understanding the background to it and how that can impact you.
Definitely.
All right, excellent. Well, there's some pros and cons for you on why you may consider using a broker. If you do have any questions, please reach out to us or to Tracey directly, and we look forward to speaking with you next time.
Merry Christmas.
Have a good Christmas.